Hi, my name's Thete, an experienced competitive raiding Retribution Paladin. In this third pre-patch guide, I'm going to look at some of the differences we can expect during the last few weeks of Warlords of Draenor when we head off into Hellfire Citadel specifically. I'll cover some of the pitfalls to watch out for, as well as the talents I'm planning on taking for each fight, assuming I even do each fight. I'll also ponder some of the trinkets. If you've been comfortably clearing Hellfire Citadel on the hardest mode that you intend to tackle, then there won't be too much to worry about. Just practice the new abilities and refine your technique as appropriate. However, if you're still progressing and want to polish off some more bosses during this period, then there may be some pitfalls to beware. If you haven't seen the first two parts in this series, then you'd be strongly advised to, as the content of this video will make little sense without it. If Legion hasn't launched and this video is still current, then you can find them in the Rep playlist linked in the annotation, as well as in the comments below. If Legion has launched, then there will be updated guides which you can find in that playlist, because I will only be keeping the most up-to-date videos in that list. Now, when it comes to movement, we don't have the same options that we did for Warlords of Draenor. This may be particularly noteworthy on Zul'Harak, Gorfiend, Fellord, Manroth, and Mythic Archimonde, as well as Iskar. For most situations, we aren't likely to need to sprint more frequently than every 45 seconds, so Divine Steed should be fine for us. Just remember that if you take Divine Steed, then your Divine Shield will have the full 5-minute cooldown, something we haven't really been used to. Now, when it comes to taking damage, Divine Protection is gone, so is Sacred Shield, so if, like me, you favoured that, it means we no longer have any short duration cooldown to smooth out periods of annoying raid damage. As Glyph of Templar's Verdict has also gone for a Burton, we no longer have the almost constant 10% damage reduction. All this adds up to being less robust than before this patch. Just be a little more mindful of damage sources. You may only be able to use Bubble once per fight now, though at least we can now use it with no DPS penalty. Also remember that Blessing of Protection no longer prevents you meleeing, though it still drops threat, so be careful using it on tanks. This means you could sort of use it as a defensive on physical damage, but Hellfire Citadel doesn't have a lot of that. With the loss of Hand of Sacrifice, which is now going to be called Blessing of Sacrifice, but we don't get it, we are of little to no value to tanks. If they were in the habit of asking for a sack from you before, on such fights as Tyrant or Archimonde for example, then ensure that they know they'll have to go elsewhere from now on. We now don't really have a lot to use at range. Hammer of Wrath has gone, oh dear, as has Exorcism. Judgment still works, but it doesn't generate holy power and shouldn't really be used as a ranged ability on any fight in Hellfire Citadel, really. Now, in Hellfire Citadel, up to this point, we wanted to line up the last tick of Execution Sentence with the last tick of Wings of Liberty, our Tier 18 4-set bonus. Now we also want to ensure that the Judgment debuff is active on our target as well. In this situation, and as I mentioned in the previous guide, we'd want to use Avenging Wrath a few seconds before Judgment. In addition, Execution Sentence does not fall over a fixed 10-second duration, so firing it off at the same time as Avenging Wrath doesn't work. It falls over 7 seconds, reduced by haste. This makes timing it to hit the 10th stack of Liberty tricky at best. You might be best undershotting rather than overshooting it. Add in the possibility of heroism at this time, which might reduce the fall time to between 3 and 4 seconds, and you can easily go wrong here. I would strongly advise not even to worry about it, quite frankly. Finally, don't forget to put Greater Blessing of Might on your 3 biggest DPS whores on all fights. So in this section, I'm just going to run through the talents I'm planning on taking. Do note that this can only be based on the latest build and could easily change if Blizzard monkey about with more abilities. You should always try to understand how the abilities work yourself, and I hope my guides help you to do that, and use the talents that will suit you best. Before I start, I will just mention that I won't be changing the talents for the level 45, 75 or 100 talent rows. I will always take Fist of Justice, Justicar's Vengeance and Divine Purpose. So for Hellfire Assault, I'll be taking Final Verdict. Consecration is no good because you're constantly on the move. You don't necessarily always have a load of mobs around you anyway. For level 30, I'm more likely to take Fires of Justice. Zeal, I'd be concerned about stacks always dropping. Certainly in the guild I'm at, there's long periods of downtime where we kill the mobs too quickly. This same may be true in your case. If not, maybe if you have got mobs constantly up, then maybe Zeal will be a good one. I'm not so sure about Greater Judgment. I mean, if ever there's a fight in Hellfire Citadel, well, Greater Judgment would be good. This is it. But again, I'm not really convinced that I'm going to have loads of mobs around me a lot. There are certain periods of the fight when you do, quite a lot of periods of the fight in my experience where you don't. So I'm going to go for Fires of Justice on that one. In terms of Blade of Justice, Divine Hammer, of course, I am. There only needs to be a couple of mobs around you almost all the time, or 3 mobs around you on a regular basis, which there are, and Divine Hammer will pay for itself, so that'll be quite useful. Yes, sure, I won't be getting a lot of holy power from it because it's got the longest cooldown, but there are times when you get loads of mobs around you, so yeah. And for level 90, Divine Steed, there are times when you want to move quickly between things. You're not having to do it all the time, so Divine Steed should be fine. It's not a fight where I'm going to feel in danger, so I wouldn't get any real use out of Divine Intervention anyway, and Seal of Light. Pff. Now, for Iron Reaver, I mean, if you're going to use Execution Sentence ever, then this is the fight to use it on, and this is the one I am planning to use it on. If you don't fancy Execution Sentence, then Final Verdict should be fine too. That should be absolutely okay. In terms of the Crusader Strike, again, I'm going to go for Fires of Justice on this one, just so it can build up Holy Power really quickly. I think it's going to be quite important in Hellfire Citadel to be able to build Holy Power quickly in certain parts of the fight, especially when the ring is being used, especially at the start as well. You don't want to be hanging around, and Fires of Justice will absolutely help you to do that. Of course, if you end up with a lot of haste, and you might well be chasing haste, and it's just too quick, and you even Zeal would be fine for you, then just swap to Zeal. I'm going to be using Blade of Wrath on this one, just because of the tuning as it is at the moment. Blade of Wrath is just so much more powerful than Virtue's Blade. I could actually, if I enchanted and gemmed everything for crit, I could get to a point where Virtue's Blade will do more damage than Blade of Wrath. And I'm not ruling out that possibility. But there are other advantages to Blade of Wrath as well, in terms of it favouring haste. If you get a load of haste, then the Judgment window is not such a big deal for you as well. So on balance, for single target fights, or where single target is the focus, I'm going to go for Blade of Wrath. I'm also, on this fight, not going to really concern myself with the level 90 talents. We kill it quite quickly anyway, and we're no doubt going to kill it more quickly, I hope, with the 30% nerf that Hellfire Citadel is going to get. So it really doesn't matter. I'll probably just keep the Divine Steed because I'll have already had that from Hellfire Assault. Now, when it comes to Cormrock, again, Final Verdict in this particular case, if you ever get the hands appearing, because it's a nice, you know, it buffs both your Templar's Verdict and your Divine Storm. If you don't, if you're not going to get the hands up, depending on how you do it, and in our guild, the way we do it, we don't, then Execution Sentence. And I think I personally will go for Execution Sentence, but I would say if you're going to have the Grasping Hands appearing, Final Verdict. For the Crusader Strike, again, I'm going to go for Fires of Justice, just for the same reasons I will on most fights. I'm going to go for Blade of Wrath again, as I mentioned for Iron Reaver. Again, for single target fights, I'm just going to go. It's just more powerful at the moment, and it allows me to sort of go for haste a little bit more, because the amount of crit you're going to need is at least 45% crit to make Virtue's Blade competitive. And again, on Cormrock, what am I going to go for? I'll go for Divine Intervention, I think. I don't need to move at all, really. And it gives me the possibility to just stand in a load of goo when that comes out. There is another bonus to that as well. Use your, just a little tip for Cormrock, when you've got some stuff that ordinarily you'd sort of want to move around. I mean, when Pound comes in, or what's it, it's not called Pound, is it? The stompy thing anyway, where you don't want to be near another person. Don't splash onto other people, don't be a dick about it. But when the goo comes out, use your Shield of Vengeance, make sure that gets consumed so you can do extra damage on the boss. Now, of course, that might mean you overdo it and end up taking a load of health. Well, your Divine Intervention will just proc your Divine Shield for you if that happens. No biggie. So yeah, I'm taking Divine Intervention for this one. Right, on to Hellfire High Council. Now, this is a 2-target cleave fight. I'm going to go for Execution Sentence here, because Divine Storm is not a DPS increase on 2 targets. I might, however, go for Zeal on this one. I'm going to see how my haste is doing. If I feel comfortable, then I'm thinking more in terms of Zeal on this one. Fires of Justice has that sort of cleave benefit in some ways, in that it means you can use more Holy Power Spenders over the course of a fight. But given that we won't be using it on Divine Storm, I want to do a little bit of cleave, so I'm going to use Zeal. I'm going to still go for Divine Hammer, though, 2-target cleave, because it is a benefit on that. As soon as we've killed one mob, though, all of a sudden it won't be as useful. So I'll leave it up to you which one you want to use over the course of the fight. Because it's not a 2-target cleave through the whole of the fight, we might actually be better off using Blade of Wrath. So that's one I'm going to have a think about myself. But I'm just going to try out Divine Hammer and see how it goes. And then Divine Intervention again. We don't need to move very quickly or very far. If you do, then maybe you should use Divine Steed. I don't, so I'm just going to keep it on Divine Intervention. Any fight where I don't need to move, you might as well just use it on that, just in case of little accidents. Right, Kilrog Deadeye. I think I'm going to go Final Verdict on this one. Sometimes there are ads going past, you'll do a sneaky Divine Storm on them. Execution Sentence, you know, I don't think he's so much better than Final Verdict. I think it is a bit better on single target, so either one of those would be okay. But I think I'm going to go for Final Verdict on this one. I also think I'm going to try out Zeal, just as with the Hellfire High Council. Again, there's plenty of cleaving going on, and you should be able to maintain those stacks. But I will still go for Blade of Wrath here, because a lot of the time as melee, and we're just on Kilrog, there aren't ads there all the time, so it's not there enough for Divine Hammer to be useful. So Blade of Wrath. And again, Divine Intervention, just, you know, because you're not going to move. You're really not moving. Okay, Gorefiend, the first of the tough bosses in Hellfire Citadel, no matter where you are with this. Now, of course, on Gorefiend, you should not be cleaving, so Divine Storm's very bad, unless you're really allowed to cheese the hell out of it. So, Execution Sentence is very like the one going here. I'll probably macro it so it always goes on the boss no matter what I'm targeting, because the last thing I want to do is use Execution Sentence and it falls, or would fall, after I've already killed the mob. Fires of Justice on this one again, because we don't really want cleave, so I'm going to use Fires of Justice for the Crusader Strike option. I'm going to use Blade of Wrath for the Blade of Justice option, and I'm going to use, I don't even know, do we want to move around or what? Maybe we want to move a bit, so maybe Divine Steed. Divine Intervention, if it is a tough boss for you, or it's one you're still progressing on, probably Divine Intervention is likely to be better. I might use Divine Steed on this just so I can move smartly over to get the various ads when necessary. Iskar. Iskar's an interesting one. I think Final Verdict is a straightforward choice. A lot of the time it's single target, but then you have these periods where ads come in, and it's actually very important to get those ads down really quickly. So it has to be Final Verdict because it's the nice flexible one where there are periods of just on the boss, but also periods of AoE, quite important. Final Verdict is absolutely cut out for that. In terms of the Crusader Strike, again, would we use Fires of Justice or Zeal? I'm thinking in terms of Fires of Justice for this one, because again, it might allow us to get, if it procs not kindly, more Divine Storms out during that period. Okay? Now, Blade of Wrath I would still go for the level 60 talent. Divine Hammer, again, it's only good if they're going to have ads up pretty much all the time. That's not the case. So it's got to be Blade of Wrath. And then Divine Steed, Seal of Light. This is one where I might actually take Seal of Light for when the winds come in, because you want that. Your Divine Steed only lasts for a few seconds. That's not going to save you if you don't have the eye thrown to you quickly. And as melee, you have winds and you are tanking the boss, which is fairly standard near the platform edge. Divine Intervention isn't going to help you if you go flying off the edge. So I'm going to go for Seal of Light and hope that that 20% speed boost is just enough to keep me going. This is one where I am so going to miss Long Arm of the Law. So going to miss it. But, you know, there we go. Socrathar. Socrathar is an interesting one because we do very frequently have ads around us, but not always more than one extra ad. So we may not get a lot of Divine Storms out. So I'm probably thinking in terms of this one, Execution Sentence again. There might be some awkward timing with Execution Sentence if we're about to use it, but then, you know, the Dominator's about to come out, well, that Execution Sentence won't land, so we're delaying it. Ugh, messy. But still, I think on balance, Execution Sentence. Fires of Justice or Zeal, I think Fires of Justice, again, you may not be cleaving that much. The ads may be taken down quite quickly by other people. So I'm going to go for Fires of Justice for the Crusader Strike option. I'm going to go for Blade of Wrath again, because I'm not going to expect adds around me all the time. And in terms of the level 90 talents, I don't really care. I don't feel in danger on this fight, even as it is on live, and I don't need to move very quickly. So I suppose you could take Divine Steed, because maybe if you get targeted by charge, it allows you to get back really quickly, so maintain DPS on the boss, possibly. So yeah, maybe Divine Steed. Right, on to Fell Lord Zakuun. Well, this is a straightforward single target boss. I'm going to go for Execution Sentence. I'm going to go for Fires of Justice. I'm also going to go for Blade of Wrath. And I'm going to go for Divine Steed to run out really quickly for when you get seeds. Okay, I think that's as straightforward as it comes. Zul'Harak. Zul'Harak. Now, if there is ever a fight where Consecration might be quite good, this is it. And it might, just for a laugh, be worth using Consecration there. You can keep it down there, so if you have to run out because you're getting your shit all the time, but the imps are coming in, you go, no, I want no DPS imps. You can at least have your Consecration there, unless the timing's really awkward, it might be. It may be an interesting one to use. The downsides I have with Consecration, beyond the fact that on most fights it's useless because you just don't have the mobs there, is the fact that it's something you have to fit into your rotation, and affected by haste, so the cooldown gets shorter the more haste you got, and we might well be going for a lot of haste. And it's just fitting it in, and it's not a holy power builder or spender. It's just like an extra thing. But I might just use it just to try it out on this one. But if it didn't work out, I didn't like it, final verdict. I'd also be tempted on this one to still stick to Zeal, because the cleaving on this one. Greater Judgment, again, a lot of the time you don't have those adds up, and your Greater Judgment may not be off cooldown at the point where the imps come in, so you may not get much benefit from the debuff spreading to those adds, because the adds are likely to be beasted down quite quickly. So I'm thinking either Fires of Justice or Zeal, either would be decent, but I quite like Zeal, so I'm more likely to use Zeal on this one. Divine Hammer, though, I will use Divine Hammer on this one, even though a lot of the time we're only going to have 2 adds up, and in which case Blade of Wrath really is sneaking it at the moment. But I think Blade of Wrath, either Blade of Wrath is overtuned or the other ones are undertuned. I think there will be a change to that. So I think Divine Hammer will be the one to use on this one, but if they don't change anything between then, probably still Blade of Wrath. And Divine Steed, you know, when you have to run out, you have to run out quite quickly, so just Divine Steed. That should get you out. The downside to it is, of course, you know, especially when, you know, it's like me, I often get spammed, and you know, a movement speed every 45 seconds won't always cut it. But then, you know, there should be warlock gates up there, which aren't always surrounded by fire. Sometimes they are. Sometimes you can't actually use them, but whatever. That's no worse than the situation we have in live anyway. So yeah, Divine Steed, I think, just to help me get out there. Right, on Tyrant Velhari, again, we never have more than 2 mobs up, so we're not going to be Divine Storming. So I'm just going to go for Execution Sentence on this one. I'm going to go for Zeal or Fires of Justice. We often do cleave, so I'm going to go for Zeal on this one. Now, in terms of whether we have Divine Hammer or Blade of Wrath, again, Divine Hammer isn't, at the moment, enough of a DPS increase with 2 mobs. It's quite marginal, and we never have more than 2. So again, as things stand, I'll go for Blade of Wrath. If tuning changes a little bit, I might think in terms of Divine Hammer. But remember, we don't always have 2 mobs up, so Blade of Wrath could still be the one to go for there. And in terms of the other options, we don't need to move really quickly as a melee. So Divine Intervention just to cover up any little accidents as usual. Okay, so on to Manaroth, the second of the tough fights. And what we're going to do for this one. I think in terms of, it could be Final Verdict again, because that helps you with both imps, as well as it's okay on the boss as well. Just remember that when the Doom Lord is up with the boss but no imps, we won't be using Divine Storm, so it's not going to help us on that necessarily. We could still take Execution Sentence, and again, just have it targeted so it always lands on the boss. not just the ads we're on, a bit like with Gorfin that I'll be planning. And I may do that one, but I think I'm probably more likely to try Final Verdict first of all. I am very likely to take Zeal on this fight, because again, cleaving there, but Greater Judgment's not going to really come into its own, and does nothing effectively when the boss is sub 50%, except when the imps are up, and even then we may not get much use out of it if the imps have been blown away really quickly. For the same reason, I'm going to go for Blade of Wrath. I don't think the imps are going to be up for long enough or often enough in the fight, and what really matters is damage on the boss a lot of the time. Anyway, yes, when the ads are up, they are top priority, but the boss still needs to die, and he's got quite a lot of health. So Blade of Wrath. In terms of the other talents, well, getting pushed back by the Shadow Force is quite unpleasant. But again, what is better, you know, Seal of Light or Divine Steed? I'm sort of thinking Divine Steed. Divine Steed will also help you if you get yourself into a bad position in other parts of the fight as well. It's just that really quick burst to get you back on track. So Divine Steed is what I'm likely to go for there. It's very tempting to take Divine Intervention. This is what annoys me. Fights like this where we don't have a baseline movement speed, but whatever. Right, finally, Archimonde. Archimonde. Again, when there's only 2 targets up, we're not Divine Storming. I'm thinking there are times when we do Divine Storms, but it's not that often. So I'm thinking Execution Sentence for this, personally. But I still go for Zeal, usual thing. There is going to be cleaving, it's just not on enough mobs to use Divine Storm a lot of the time. So I'll go for Zeal. We need to maintain stacks on the boss, but I'm going to come to that when I talk about Trinkets, because some of this is, there's a certain proviso whenever I say Zeal, by the way. Blade of Wrath still, because most of the time it's going to be on 1 or 2 targets, and the way things are, Blade of Wrath is just more powerful. It's also pretty good for AoE as well, remember, because it has the shortest cooldown, so we generate more holy power over the course of the fight anyway. And for the level 90 talent, Divine Steed or Divine Intervention. I would think Divine Steed should be the best option, because there are some times where you might need to move really quickly in phases 2 or 3. But Divine Intervention covers up any little accidents that may happen. It's a little bit of a pose. You don't need a movement speed boost on the fight, and you don't need to die. But it's one of those things, which do you think? I'll leave that up to you. Do you fear death more than needing movement speed increases, in which case go for Divine Intervention. Remember, it can't proc any more than once every 2.5 minutes. But if you think movement's going to serve you better, and you're not that worried about dying, then Divine Steed. Okay, as I just alluded to in the previous section, there is a problem with Zeal regarding one of our trinkets. Zeal replaces Crusader Strike, but it is not building stacks on our class trinket, the Lemur of Vindication. And so this trinket is useless with Zeal. As such, we're forced to either not use Zeal or not use the trinket. As our main trinket in Hellfire Citadel, the empty drinking horn has been nerfed into oblivion through a combination of actual nerfs and our toolkit no longer able to build stacks up quickly enough. We won't be using it unless your other trinket options are truly dire. It is worth noting that Hellfire Citadel trinkets across the board have been nerfed to some degree. Now, assuming you have access to all the Hellfire Citadel trinkets at the appropriate level of difficulty, this leaves you with few choices. Discordant Chorus may end up being wheeled out of retirement. It might become useful on fights with significant periods of ads. It's worth trying out. Unending Hunger would be an obvious one and was strong before this pre-Legion patch. I used to use it quite a lot. However, part of that was the guaranteed proc when you first enter combat. This is no longer the case, as you can see from a log I took on the PTR in LFR. The crit will still be nice, however, and so I think I will still use it on most, if not all, fights. If you don't have access to the mythic trinkets, then the heirloom trinket, the Grunttooth Warhorn, has seen service on demon bosses anyway. This could still be a useful trinket during the 7.0 patch, but I'm not sure it quite matches up to the mythic trinkets still. But if that's not what you've got access to, if you've got access to, say, normal and heroic trinkets, then yes, Grunttooth Warhorn could well be still a very good trinket to use on demon bosses. My absolute preferences would be for the class trinket on almost all fights. So I'm desperately hoping that Blizzard will fix the bug that prevents Zeal from proccing it. If they don't, then I might well prefer to swap out Zeal for Fires of Justice than to swap out the trinket for something else. The class trinket has been severely nerfed like a lot of others, but it's still a nice reliable source of damage. Now, hopefully those little thoughts on the various trinkets will give you some clues. If you're expecting a summary that sort of says, use these two trinkets, I'm afraid I don't know myself. They may still carry on nerfing them. I am very conscious of having done a video just before Hellfire Citadel came out, just before the patch came out, 6.2, and I was saying, oh, we want empty drinking horn, doesn't matter what it is, the normal version is way better than other, like even mythic trinkets. We need it, we need it, we need it. I brought out that video and like a day later, they nerfed the crap out of it. It still ended up being our best one through progress. Okay, so, and that's sort of the same here. They've nerfed these trinkets. They don't work, they don't all, at any rate, work the same as they did before. But the trinkets you've been using up to now will still be decent. There isn't necessarily a major reason to stop using them, other than what I've just said about we can't use Zeal and the class trinket unless they fix that. But in general terms, they still sort of work as they did before. You shouldn't get any major problems with still using the same ones you have been using. Finally, I just want to reiterate something that I have mentioned. I've covered it in the first guide, and I covered it in this one when I talk about Cormorant, and that is to make use of Shield of Vengeance. Just as a reminder, Shield of Vengeance is a sort of new defensive ability we have. Really, it's offensive, because it's an absorb shield, and if you can get it to the damage to absorb it completely, then it will deal holy damage back to mobs around you. And of course, if you're just on a boss fight and there's no ads, it will just be all into the boss, and it can be a considerable amount of damage if you make frequent use of it. It's got a 2-minute cooldown. There are plenty of opportunities in Hellfire Citadel to make use of this. Okay, there's Barrage on Iron Reaver, stand in the way of it. It will sort of, especially the first time round, if I'm going to be doing this, it might be helpful, especially if you're doing that on Mythic, if you just make sure you've got Divine Intervention ready, just in case it goes wrong. But you've got to try these things out. So you've got Barrage on Iron Reaver, stand in the way of it, don't go moving out like everyone else. There's the gooey things on Cormorant, just stand in the way of them until it blows up. You'll need to track it, so when it has blown up, you know to no longer continue to take damage. There's plenty of opportunities all the way through. I'm not going to go through every boss. You can find them yourself. But the sort of things that you used to move out for or used to be a bit wary of, as long as it's not going to screw anyone else over, obviously don't take those sorts of damage, then take it, make sure you've got the boss close by, and blow the boss up with it. Use it offensively. Anything that can do damage should be used to do damage. It's really annoying. I would much prefer if it was just a defensive ability, but it's not. If it does damage, it's not. It's primarily an offensive ability. So I just wanted to emphasize that one. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight into some of the things to watch out for on the various fights. If you found it useful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe as usual. If you have any specific comments, by all means do ask there or email me. The live Q&A will be coming out as soon as the pre-patch goes live. There is now a very strong suggestion, although Blizzard have been really annoying not saying anything, that this pre-patch may well come out on the 19th of July, as was sort of rumoured some time ago. That being the case, I will do that live Q&A just before it, but I'm not going to say exactly when until they confirm the actual date. But watch out for that. If you've got any questions, as I say, email me or put them in the comments below, and I'll put those in the seminar. And make sure you follow me on Twitter so you'll know when that seminar is. Until next time, I'll see you later.